Tesla. Is this the company that takes us into the future? Hi everybody, and welcome to Uncommon Sense America. I'm your host Dave Long, and this is the show where we talk about the important things and trends happening around the country and why you need to know about them. So, Tesla, is this the company that takes us into the future? Maybe. We'll get into why I'm saying maybe as we go through this episode. What is Tesla? Well, it's a company and they're probably best known for their electric cars. They also make solar panels and what they call a power wall, which is a device for storing clean energy. So Tesla, the company, was founded in 2003. One of the co-founders, and the one most people are probably familiar with, is Elon Musk. He's the current CEO of Tesla. Now in 2008, Tesla launched their Roadster, which was the first production electric vehicle to be able to travel over 200 miles per charge. In 2010, the company went public with an IPO and launched the Model S in 2012. In 2015, Tesla launched the Model X, which is a crossover, and in 2017, Tesla launched the Model 3. So a quick background on electric vehicles and why they're, a big deal. This really ties in with the whole sustainable energy and climate change debate. So the appeal of an electric vehicle like a Tesla is that it doesn't use gasoline, so it's a more sustainable type of transportation. You might be wondering, what separates Teslas from hybrids? Well, Teslas are all electric. They're high performance and they're expensive. Now, there are some other all-electric vehicles out on the market right now. Examples of this are the Chevy Bolt and the Nissan Leaf. So they have no gas tanks whatsoever. They're completely electric. Now you might be wondering, well, what's the difference between a Tesla and a Bolt and a Leaf? Here are a few of the differences. The Chevy Bolt can travel 238 miles per charge, and it goes 0 to 60 in about 6.5 seconds. Base models of the Bolt cost around $37,500. The Nissan Leaf has a range of about 151 miles per charge and goes 0 to 60 in about 7.5 seconds. Base models of that car come in at just under $30,000. The Tesla Model S has a range of about 335 miles per charge and goes 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Base models of this vehicle start at about $75,000. Tesla's Model 3 is marketed as a more affordable Tesla, with a bare bones model reportedly costing around $35,000. This was reported last year, so 2017. This model apparently had a smaller battery and a shorter range of about 220 miles per charge, and it was only rear wheel drive compared to the company's. It seems kind of their standard manufacturing process is to put all-wheel drive on their vehicles. And basically any options added to this model would raise the price significantly. So just checking some newer reports, newer Model 3s look like they cost more like $50,000 or more. This is where we get into some controversy. Apparently, many customers put a $1,000 deposit down on the new Model 3s, but they're feeling misled and they're actually demanding refunds when they found out that they would end up having to pay significantly more money for the model that they would ultimately end up with. Elon Musk, the company's CEO, is in a little bit of trouble, actually quite a bit of trouble, over a tweet he sent out on August 7th of this year of his expressing his desire to take Tesla private. So he's been apparently feeling quite a bit of pressure from issuing, the quarterly earnings reports that any publicly traded company has to file with the SEC. It sounds like it's just a lot of pressure for him. He's maybe kind of cracking under the pressure a little bit, and so he's wanting to make the company private again. Now, the consequence of this is that there are a couple of class action lawsuits being filed against him and Tesla for tweeting this desire to take the company private again in possible violations of Securities and Exchange Commission or SEC regulations. Now, going along with this, that same day, Musk tweeted that he had secured funding to take the company private, and that's a possible violation of SEC regulations as well. Now, he tried to backtrack this a little bit later on, and so when he was asked about it, he tried to kind of explain it off, that what he really meant to say was that, he did not have any doubts that funding would be secured. Not that it was already secured, but that it would be. As CEO of this and another company as well, and I'll get to that in a minute, Musk has a ton of pressure on him, tons of expectations, lots of goals he's trying to reach. He's tried to explain some of this off as a result of him not sleeping enough. So, he's saying he's stressed out. He's working overtime. He's working these ridiculous 120-hour work weeks. He's sleeping in one of the factories where these cars are produced. And he's saying that he doesn't even get outside for days at a time in some cases. I think it's important to recognize here that this guy, he's prodigal. He's a genius. So in addition to Tesla, Musk is the CEO and lead designer at SpaceX, which is a private American aerospace manufacturer and space transportation services company. Think about what that means. There really aren't any other companies around that would help define that term. History has shown time and again that, oftentimes it's just a single person at the head of an enterprise, and sometimes that enterprise is a company, and that single person makes a much larger impact in whatever field they're working in than was made by even huge teams of people working in that same field previously. So just think of, Thomas Edison and Albert Einstein and Steve Jobs. Granted, they were all in very different fields doing different things in different times of history, but they all made huge contributions in their own ways. They all had different ways of interacting with other people and basically coming up with their own different inventions. In some cases, these guys weren't always perfect businessmen. Their genius lied more in their ability to think and to basically invent things or ideas that would really help shape and define the future. In my opinion, Elon Musk is in the same league. He's a thinker. He's an inventor. He comes up with new ideas and he thinks of ways to implement them. Now, I'm not saying that he's terrible at dealing with other people or leading a business. I'm not implying that at all. But I think that right now, what's really going on, this video is being recorded late August of 2018, with some of the controversy surrounding his recent actions and how it reflects on one of his companies, Tesla in particular. I think he needs to try to get out of the spotlight. So I think one important thing that should be noted here is that Tesla, when you think of the company, if you're familiar with the company, that is, a lot of people, they basically equate Tesla to Elon Musk. I think that unless you're very familiar with the company, like serving like the board of directors or own shares in it, for instance, again, if you think of Tesla, you think Elon Musk. Now, if you think of other companies like Ford and Chevy and Nissan, can you think of the lead engineer or the head science guy who's really in charge of coming up with the new ideas, let alone deciding the direction that the company is going to head. Other companies are, they're run by large boards and have teams of engineers, and I'm sure that's how it is at Tesla as well. But, there's no clear figurehead or leader of those companies that most people are going to be able to name off the top of their head. Again, this is assuming you don't own stocks or shares in those companies, or you serve on the board of directors and you just automatically know, oh, well, so-and-so is in charge of this division and this other guy's in charge of that division. Most people can't name the people in charge of maybe even the entire company. The important difference here is that, those companies are led by men who are interested in making a profit and making money. Tesla is run by a man with a vision for the future. So in going back to that earlier question, is Tesla the company that takes us into the future? I don't know that it's necessarily Tesla that takes us into the future, Tesla the company that is. I think it's really Elon Musk who takes us into the future. To do this, he has to get his personal life in check first. If he really is suffering from sleep deprivation, as he claims and many people believe, he needs to get his sleep in check and his overall health. He needs to rein in his use of Twitter. So we've seen lots of examples of very prominent people abusing the Twitter platform and landing themselves in hot water. Just watch one of my recent videos over Donald Trump getting himself into trouble over his constant Twitter use. But anyway, getting back to the main point of this video, Elon Musk, he needs to remain as really the figurehead of Tesla, but I think he needs to kind of surround and protect himself with advisors and people who can speak on his behalf in certain situations. And importantly, he needs to watch himself and at least try not to go off script too often. Another big thing, and this has more to do with the company, Tesla needs to get their manufacturing under control. The big takeaway point here is that they need to meet their production deadlines. Another major point is that Tesla needs to set a price for a vehicle and stick to it. So their cars, their all electric vehicles are already priced higher than any entry level model, kind of conventional car that runs on gasoline. So when you add to that these situations where they say that, a vehicle is going to cost, for instance, $35,000 for a base model, whatever. But, if you change anything about that vehicle, it's going to end up costing you tens of thousands of dollars more. That only hurts the company and the public's perception of the company. Going along with making their cars more affordable, it would be nice, and hopefully this happens over time where, just the sticker price of their vehicles comes down a bit. There are other ways to make a car more affordable, or at least to make the perception of the car more affordable. So I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about here. If they can definitively, demonstrate or prove that their cars have drastically lower maintenance fees, maintenance and repairs over the years. And it's tricky to do because Tesla's, the cars haven't been around all that long yet. So no one really knows for sure how, reliable and dependable they are over the long run, and, how much they cost to service or in repair and things like that. But, in the coming years, if they can show that, they have overall lower maintenance fees, that could go a long way into making the perception of their vehicles seem that, they're more affordable than maybe their sticker price would suggest. Another big thing, and this is really the analog to, filling up at the gas pump, is the charging station fees that Tesla has. Okay, so Tesla has these, I think they call them supercharger stations spread out around the world, and there are thousands of them. And each station has several different, ports or whatever that you would pull your Tesla up to charge it up, just like you would a cell phone, basically. Originally, charging your Tesla at one of these stations, it was free for Tesla owners. I believe that's changed recently so that Tesla owners have to pay to charge their vehicles. And I know that at one point there was talk, and I don't know if this was actually implemented or not, but there was talk about charging really what I would consider a very silly kind of nickel and dime fee. They called it they referred to it as an idling fee. So this would happen once a car was, fully charged, and then it was essentially just sitting at one of these charging ports. The owner of that vehicle would be charged for, I guess, just having their vehicle parked there without needing to charge anymore. So that, stuff like that, little kind of nickel and diming tactics, those need to go away because that's only going to add to the public's perceptions that Teslas are expensive and relative. They are relatively expensive compared to lots of other vehicles out on the road. So, getting rid of, little fees like that, that's going to go a long way, I think. Another big one would be government incentives for Tesla buyers and owners. Now, it sounds like the government already subsidizes Tesla, the company, quite a bit because, they are making, environmentally friendly vehicles. They're electric only. They don't use up gasoline. They don't emit, all the harmful and toxic pollutants that traditional, gasoline-powered cars would emit. But, I know that the federal government does have federal tax credits for Tesla, buyers. But, maybe they could do a little bit more on top of that, just offer rebates or just straight up cash incentives, things like that. The last point is, Tesla needs to make charging their vehicles easier. Now, I mentioned this a minute ago. They already have lots of these, supercharging stations spread out around the world. And if you live in a major city or major, metropolitan area, it likely won't be an issue. But if they want their models to be accepted, more mainstream and thought of as a true replacement to just, a regular, sedan or whatever, they need to have more of these charging stations. And I think they are heading in the right direction here. They're adding more and more constantly. Some of this also comes down to public education. So in addition to these, supercharging stations, people need to realize that you have charging options at your home, and you charge your vehicle overnight, and then it's good to go for another, 300 plus miles or whatever before it needs another charge. In addition to that, people need to realize that it's not the best option, but you can also charge these vehicles through just a regular outlet you would find outside. You don't even need one of these supercharging stations or destination charging stations, or you don't need to necessarily return to your home to charge your vehicle. People just need to realize that there are other options. So is Tesla the company that takes us into the future? It could be. I think it's largely dependent on Elon Musk remaining as the figurehead of that company. He's already demonstrated through countless other achievements in his life that he's an intelligent man. He can accomplish quite a bit, way more than most people can. So if anybody's going to take us into the future, it's him. And that's going to do it for this episode, and I will talk to you in the next one.